team that did not put some good things on tape yesterday was Auburn. Penn State went into Jordan-Hare, won the game 41-12. And the fashion in which they did it is, I think, what is most telling about both these programs. Potentially more about Auburn. We'll start with them. The sloppiness that we saw from weeks before, where Auburn looked sloppy against San Jose State, and you say, okay, week 2, they're still kind of getting it together. Those sloppy characteristics continued in this game. They continued in the difference between Penn State and San Jose State, no knock on the Spartans, Penn State's going to make you pay. And they had 4 turnovers. They didn't look clean in terms of an operation, getting to the line, getting the play started. They struggled at square one, which is concerning because they got guys in this program. Tank Bigsby, absolute dog, was held in check most of the day. TJ Finley, a lot of physical ability, didn't look very polished during the game. And there's a lot of these things that happen for Auburn to where you continue to look at this and you say, okay, you look sloppy in the game, but I promise you, before it happened in the game, it happened behind closed doors at Auburn. Meaning this coaching staff, I don't know what needs to happen, but there needs to be something in where they're putting their foot down and saying, listen, this cannot be the way we present ourselves as a program. Because there were so many things that you could link to discipline or way of doing things, whatever it is. The way that Auburn went about this game on Saturday points a lot to their coaching staff. And when you look at the coaching staff, it's hard to look anywhere else besides the head coach, the man who's in charge of running the program. So for Bryan Harsin, the seat is getting just ever so slightly a little bit more toasty week in and week out because the schedule doesn't get easy for Auburn. I mean, you still have to play Georgia. You still have to play Alabama. You still got to play A&M. Auburn's schedule the rest of the way, Penn State's just the start of your problems. One of the biggest things that I noticed was the way that Auburn lost at the point of attack. That front seven, time and time again, was getting blown off the ball. Even if it wasn't a 7-yard gain, even if it wasn't a first down, just a 2-3-yard gain, they were still getting pushed a yard or two off the line of scrimmage. It's hard to win a game when your big boys can't stand up to the attack of what the other team's bringing on the offensive line. And Penn State, to their credit, just had their way. So that's what we'll start with them. They won the point of attack. Nick Singleton had a day. Him and Katron Allen carried the load. Nick Singleton went over 100 yards for the second week in a row, and he just adds so much balance to this program, to this offense even more so. Because over the last year or so, that was one of the main concerns was a lot of players, a lot of ability. They're going to recruit well. James Franklin's a great program. But if you can't run the ball, it's hard to get anything started. Because when you can't run the ball, defenses can key on your quarterback and make him uncomfortable as much as they want to because they're not worried about you running the ball. They're not worried about you dictating your tempo to them. And for Penn State to now be able to say, we can run the football at you, play after play after play, first and second down, we can hand the ball to Singleton, we can hand the ball to Allen. You know how much easier that makes Sean Clifford's job? For his 92nd year playing quarterback for this team, he was really efficient yesterday. I think it was 14 of 19, looked comfortable for the most part, didn't have to do too much, averaged right around 9 yards of completion. His job got substantially easier dealing with 3rd and 3, dealing with 2nd and 6. Just situationally, Penn State is at such a better place with the run game the way it looked yesterday. I mean, a season ago, they were not nearly as efficient as they were yesterday. So Singleton and Allen both adding a whole new element to this offense. We mentioned it a little bit in terms of the defense for Penn State, but they were playing sideline to sideline with no seatbelt. They were flying all over the place yesterday against Auburn. And it showed with those 4 turnovers they forced, a lot of them were just havoc turnovers, meaning they were making that quarterback uncomfortable. Whether it was Finley in the first half, Ashford in the second half, it did not matter who was taking snaps for Auburn. Abdul Carter was a freak show for them yesterday. I believe he led the team in tackles. He's someone that you're going to have to pay attention to for years to come in this sport because he's going to be a guy that you get to talk about when it comes to those postseason accolades. His name's going to be in a lot of those conversations. So I think to zoom out a little bit here, if Penn State can play the way they did yesterday against Auburn, if that can be even more so their formula the rest of the way, if they can be balanced offensively, take some pressure off their veteran quarterback, and they can be physical both on offense and defense, which sounds simplistic to say. I assure you it is not a simplistic thing to execute. They're going to be dangerous. Are they going to win the Big Ten? I don't know if I'm ready to say that, but I promise you, they're going to ruin a lot of people's postseason hopes by playing this brand of football. Now, can they do it week in and week out? Remains to be seen. But I like the experience, I like the maturity, and I love the ingredient of being able to run the football at Penn State. Because they went into an SEC environment yesterday. It wasn't like that game was in Happy Valley. They went into a ruckus, hostile environment in Jordan-Hare and took care of business and dictated their tempo to Auburn. Well over 200 yards on the ground. If that can be their formula, Penn State's going to be a force to be reckoned with the rest of the season. Again, Penn State getting it done on the road at Auburn in convincing fashion, 41-12. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.